The morning in Palo Alto, California began peacefully as always. Emily Thompson stood in the kitchen, making French toast for her 5-year-old daughter Lily. A week had passed since Michael's funeral, but she didn't want to change their morning routine. Just as she had when her husband was alive, she added cinnamon to the egg mixture and carefully grilled it in butter. As the aroma filled the kitchen, she had the illusion that Michael was still there. "Mommy, when is Daddy coming home?" Lily asked innocently, gripping her small fork. A sharp pain shot through Emily's chest. How many times had she heard the same question this past week? Emily was learning firsthand how difficult it was to make a 5-year-old understand the concept of death. "Daddy is in a faraway place called heaven. But he's always watching over you, Lily." Emily smiled gently, but Lily's expression remained clouded. Michael had always put his daughter on his lap during breakfast, eating pancakes together. Though he was a busy husband running an IT company, he absolutely treasured his time with family. The doorbell rang. It was barely past 8 in the morning. Who could it be? When Emily opened the door, her mother Barbara and sister Jessica were standing there. Barbara had her hair perfectly styled from her beautician days, and Jessica worked as a boutique clerk. "Emily, I was so worried I couldn't sleep. It must be so hard being alone, isn't it?" Barbara's voice was filled with sympathy, but Emily noticed their eyes were directed toward the expensive furniture in the living room. Their gaze was particularly fixed on the Italian leather sofa Michael had purchased last year and the modern paintings hanging on the walls. "Grandma." Lily ran over and hugged Barbara. Even while holding her granddaughter, Barbara's eyes didn't leave the luxurious chandelier. "Lily, honey, aren't you lonely in this big house?" Jessica crouched down to peer into her niece's face. "Would you like to come play at Auntie's house? It's smaller and more cozy." Emily returned to the kitchen and listened to their conversation while making coffee. "This house must be expensive to maintain, right? The electricity, water bills, property taxes," Barbara muttered while looking around the living room. "It's too big for you alone, isn't it? 6 bedrooms in all." Jessica looked up at the stairs to the second floor. "Michael's study is still the same, isn't it? There must be lots of his precious things there." Bitter memories surfaced in Emily's mind. When Michael was alive, her mother and sister had always come to them for financial help. When Barbara's beauty salon was struggling, when Jessica couldn't make ends meet on her boutique salary alone, they always turned to Michael in the end. "Your family seems to love my wallet more than you," Michael had said one night. Emily had always defended her family, asking her husband to understand them. She had explained that they had their circumstances too. But looking back now, maybe Michael's words had been right. "Mommy, why are Grandma and them only looking at Daddy's room?" Lily asked Emily in a small voice. The child's sharp intuition was sensing something hidden beneath the adult's superficial kindness. Emily gently stroked her daughter's head as she answered. "They're remembering Daddy." But deep in Emily's heart, something was quietly beginning to sprout. It wasn't anger or sadness, but something colder and sharper. In her grief over losing her husband, she was beginning to see her family's true nature. Just as Michael had always worried, what they were seeking wasn't love for Emily, but the fortune Michael had left behind. 3 days later in the afternoon, Emily finally forced herself to go to Michael's study. It was the first time she had set foot in this room, which still held her late husband's scent, since the funeral. Business books lined the walls, documents neatly arranged on the desk, and Michael's beloved fountain pen. Everything was evidence that he had been here, tightening Emily's heart. Lily was at kindergarten, and the house was wrapped in silence. Emily sat in front of Michael's large desk and opened the drawers one by one. Company materials, bills, and a small safe hidden in the bottom drawer. When she entered the combination Michael had told her, the safe door opened quietly. Inside were 2 thick manila envelopes. One contained the life insurance policy, and the other held the house deed. Emily's hands trembled as she confirmed the insurance amount. $8 million. It was more than she had imagined that Michael had left for his family. However, when she saw the bank document that was included with the deed, Emily gasped. A mortgage balance notice. It showed a huge figure of $4.5 million. Michael had always told his family that this house was purchased outright. Why was there such a large mortgage remaining? Emily was puzzled as she discovered another envelope hidden even deeper. Inside was a detailed memo in Michael's handwriting and a bundle of numerous IOUs. They were IOUs with Barbara and Jessica's names on them. $100,000 for the beauty salon renovation, $80,000 for Jessica's car purchase, $120,000 for Barbara's medical expenses. Over the past 5 years, the two had borrowed over $1 million from Michael in total. And not a single penny had been repaid. Michael's memo contained his deep concerns. Emily's family doesn't love her, they're after our wealth. I may need to prepare to show Emily their true nature, read one line that pierced Emily's heart. The sound of the front door opening could be heard. Her mother and sister had come again. For the past 3 days, they had visited every day. While saying they were worried, they actually seemed to be appraising the expensive items in the house. Emily, are you there? Barbara's voice echoed in the hallway. Emily quickly returned the documents to the safe and left the study. In the living room, Jessica was looking up at the wall paintings with admiration. This painting is a real oil painting, isn't it? It must be valuable. Barbara gazed at the high-end kitchen appliances and suggested, since you must be having a hard time, why don't you come back to live with us? I think it would be better for Lily too, being in an environment with lots of friends. More than that, sis, Jessica turned around. If you sold this house, how much would it be worth? Emily quietly made coffee as she answered, I don't intend to sell it. This is the house of memories with Michael.
Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious.
But think realistically, Barbara approached the kitchen. It's hard to maintain such a big house alone. The taxes alone must cost tens of thousands of dollars a year, right? Besides, Jessica added, managing money must be difficult too, right? We family members will help you, so tell us the details of the inheritance. Cold anger welled up in Emily's heart. It was unfolding exactly as Michael had feared. While pretending to be mourning relatives, they were actually after their share of the inheritance. A week later, while Emily was playing with Lily in the garden, an unfamiliar man came with her mother and sister. He was a middle-aged man in a suit, carrying measuring instruments. Oh, Emily, Barbara called out brightly. This is Mr. Smith from Thompson Real Estate. We thought we'd have an appraisal done. An appraisal? Emily frowned. Who asked for an appraisal? Don't worry, Jessica waved her hand. Just an appraisal. It would be good to know how much it would be worth if you were to sell, right? Mr. Smith spoke up. It's a wonderful home. Considering the market in this area, it would be around $5 million. Barbara and Jessica's eyes lit up. But Emily remained calm. I'm sorry, but we don't need an appraisal. Please leave. Emily. Jessica raised her voice. Why are you being so stubborn? Think about your family. I am thinking about my family, Emily answered firmly. About Lily and my family. Mr. Smith left awkwardly. Barbara and Jessica had dissatisfied expressions, but they ended up staying until dinner that day too. That night, after Lily went to bed, Emily called Michael's old friend Robert Chen for the first time in a while. Robert worked as a real estate agent and had been Michael's best friend since college. Emily, my condolences. Michael's passing was truly unfortunate. Robert's voice was filled with deep sympathy. Robert, I actually have something to consult you about, Emily chose her words carefully. Did Michael tell you anything about my family? On the other end of the phone, Robert sighed deeply. Actually, Michael had consulted me. He was very worried about your mother and sister. What kind of consultation? He said that if anything happened to him, your family would come after the inheritance. And he wanted to prepare to protect you. Emily's heart beat rapidly. Prepare? About the mortgage on this house. Michael deliberately left a large mortgage. Even though the house appears luxurious on the surface, he made sure the actual asset value wasn't that high. Everything connected. Michael had seen through Emily's family's true nature while he was alive. And he had prepared a mechanism to protect his wife and daughter from them. Michael said, if Emily's family tries to prey on her, use this house to teach them the truth. Emily gripped the receiver tightly. Knowing that her beloved husband had tried to protect them until the end, she felt deep emotion and at the same time, cold anger toward her mother and sister. Robert, tell me the plan. The plan Michael had in mind. Understood. I'll come with the detailed documents tomorrow. Let's fulfill Michael's wishes. After hanging up, Emily returned to the study and gazed at Michael's photograph. Thank you, Michael. You protected us until the end. The next morning, when Lily asked, Mommy, why are you staying quiet? Even when Grandma and them say mean things, Emily smiled and answered. Sometimes, it's important to stay quiet and watch. The truth will always come to light. Lily tilted her head but showed an expression as if she understood something. Even a 5-year-old child might be sensing the complex adult relationships. Emily held her daughter close, realizing it was time to use the final gift Michael had left them. 2 weeks after Michael's funeral, on a Sunday morning, Emily was making a special breakfast for her daughter in the kitchen. French toast with bacon and fresh strawberries. Outside, warm California spring sunshine was streaming in, but Emily's heart was complex. Last night, Robert had called with final confirmation. Everything was ready, he had informed her. When Lily appeared in the dining room in her pajamas, the doorbell rang. It was only 8 in the morning, but those two had come again. Again. Lily sighed quietly. Good morning, Lily. Barbara entered with a bright voice. Let's have breakfast together with Grandma and them. Jessica followed and was already opening the refrigerator to take out orange juice. The sight of her sister acting as if it were her own house filled Emily with quiet anger. I was so worried I couldn't sleep, Barbara said as she sat in a chair. You living alone in such a big house. The 4 of them sat around the dining table. Lily was quietly eating her French toast, but occasionally observed the adults' expressions. Emily made coffee and watched her mother and sister while maintaining her composure. For a while, only the sound of dishes broke the silence. Barbara kept opening and closing her mouth, clearly wanting to say something. Jessica restlessly looked around, directing her gaze to the expensive clock and vases hanging on the walls. By the way, Barbara finally broached the subject. We've been worried about you all this time. Emily quietly answered, Thank you, Mom, while bringing her coffee cup to her lips. But I think we need to have a realistic conversation too. Barbara's voice gradually became serious. About Michael's insurance money, how much is it? Emily's hand stopped for a moment. They had finally gotten to the main point. Lily also stopped eating and listened to the adults' conversation. Why are you asking about the insurance money? Emily calmly asked back. Well, Jessica leaned forward. It must be hard for you to manage such a large sum alone, right? As family, we want to help you. Barbara nodded. That's right. It's probably more money than you can use, so you'll help us out a little, won't you? Emily looked at both of their faces. It wasn't sympathy for a grieving relative, but clearly greed for money shining in their eyes. It was unfolding exactly as Michael had feared. $8 million, Emily answered quietly. Barbara and Jessica's eyes instantly lit up. Jessica involuntarily exclaimed, "What?" and Barbara leaned back in her chair, unable to hide her excitement. $8 million. Jessica confirmed again. Really? Yes, Emily smiled. Michael left it for us. Amazing. Jessica stood up from her chair. With that much, you can help us family members too, right? Barbara also said excitedly, unable to contain herself, "That's right, Emily. We're family, aren't we? We help each other when we're in trouble." Actually, Jessica continued as she sat back down, "I've always wanted a new house. My current apartment is cramped, and I want to live in a nicer place." "How much are you thinking for a house?" Emily asked. "About $1 million, I guess," Jessica answered hesitantly. "You'd help me with that much, wouldn't you, sis?" Barbara joined in. "I want to expand my beauty salon too. A bigger store with the latest equipment. $500,000 would be enough." Emily quietly continued drinking her coffee. Lily was seriously listening to the adults' conversation, but a confused expression appeared on her small face. "We're blood-related family," Barbara appealed emotionally. "Michael would surely want us to help each other too." "That's right," Jessica added. "Michael was always kind. He valued us as family." Cold laughter rose in Emily's heart. It was true that Michael had been kind, but it was also true that he had seen through their true nature. Remembering the bundle of IOUs she had found in the study, Emily smiled peacefully. "It's important for family to help each other," Emily slowly began. "But there might be something more valuable than money." "What's that?" Jessica frowned. "What's more valuable than money?" Emily stood up and looked at the beautiful garden outside the window. The garden Michael had lovingly created, the plants they had chosen together, and the swing where Lily had played. "This house," Emily turned around. "If Jessica wants a new house, I'll give you this house." Both of their faces froze with surprise. "Huh?" Jessica made a voiceless sound. "You'll give us this house? Are you serious?" Barbara leaned forward. "Of course," Emily answered with a smile. "It's too big for me, and the memories with Michael are painful. I want to start a new life with just Lily in a new place." Jessica let out a cheer. "I can't believe it. This mansion will be mine." "Ours," Barbara corrected. "Let's all live together as a family. 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a garden," Jessica excitedly counted. "There's even a pool and guest rooms." "Are you really sure?" Barbara double-checked. "You won't change your mind later, will you?" "It's fine," Emily answered calmly. "We're family, after all." At that moment, Lily tugged on Emily's sleeve. When Emily crouched down, Lily whispered in her ear in a small voice. "Mommy, you're unexpectedly mean, aren't you?" Emily looked at her daughter in surprise. In Lily's eyes was an understanding beyond that of a typical 5-year-old. "Lily is a smart child," Emily smiled gently. "What are you talking about?" Jessica asked with interest. "It's a secret," Lily laughed mischievously. "A secret between Mommy and me." Barbara and Jessica were excited again. To them, a 5-year-old's words were insignificant. What mattered was that this luxurious house would be theirs. "When can we have the transfer?" Jessica asked hurriedly. "Let's start the procedures next week," Emily answered. "I have a friend who's a real estate agent, so I'll contact him." "Perfect." Barbara clapped her hands. "Emily, you're truly a good daughter." Emily laughed bitterly in her heart. Until now, they had never once empathized with her grief or offered words of comfort. Everything had been about money and property. They showed no signs of mourning Michael's death, only interest in the distribution of the inheritance. "Well then, let's celebrate," Jessica suggested. "How about dinner at a high-end restaurant tonight?" "Good idea," Barbara agreed. To celebrate the new house purchase. Emily quietly nodded. Yes, let's celebrate. That afternoon, after the two had left, Emily called Robert. I'm executing the plan, Emily said quietly. Please prepare everything. Understood. Let's fulfill Michael's wishes. Robert's voice was filled with determination. As Lily sat on her lap, she asked, Mommy, are you really giving away our house? Yes, Emily stroked her daughter's hair. But Daddy taught me something. Greedy people eventually trip themselves up. Lily tilted her head but showed an expression as if she understood something. Then she murmured quietly. Daddy is kind, but he's smart too, isn't he? Emily hugged her daughter. The following Tuesday, Robert Chen visited Emily's house carrying a thick briefcase. He had a calm demeanor and exuded the trustworthiness that came from his long friendship with Michael. As an Asian American, he was known as one of the most trusted real estate agents in the area. Mrs. Thompson, Robert greeted politely. I've prepared all the documents as Michael instructed. Emily led him to the living room. Barbara and Jessica had arrived 30 minutes earlier than the appointed time and were already sitting on the sofa, unable to hide their excitement. Both were dressed more formally than usual, clearly having prepared for this important day. Oh, Robert, Barbara stood up to greet him. You were Michael's friend, weren't you? Thank you for your help. Jessica also shook hands with a smile. Thank you for today. This really feels like a dream. Robert took files from his briefcase and began arranging them on the heavy dining table. The stack of contracts was thicker than expected, densely filled with the small print typical of legal documents. There are several important matters regarding the transfer of this property, Robert began explaining. First, the current market value of this house is assessed at approximately $5 million. Wonderful. Jessica clapped her hands. A $5 million house will be ours. However, Robert's voice became slightly stern. This property currently has a remaining mortgage of $4.5 million. Barbara's smile stopped for a moment. A mortgage? But Michael said he bought this house outright. Emily quietly spoke up. Actually, it seems Michael used a loan for part of it for investment purposes. I only learned this recently myself. But it's okay, right? Jessica asked anxiously. There's still $450,000 of value left, isn't there? Robert adjusted his glasses and continued. That's the problem. This mortgage has a variable interest rate, and the current monthly payment is approximately $35,000. $35,000. Barbara raised her voice. Every month? Yes. That's $420,000 per year in payments, Robert explained calmly. Furthermore, when you add property taxes, insurance premiums, and maintenance costs, the annual total expenditure comes to about $500,000. Jessica's face turned pale. But we don't have that kind of money. It's okay, Emily smiled gently. You can solve the problem by selling the house. Robert shook his head. Unfortunately, given the current real estate market conditions, selling houses in this area is difficult. Similar properties have been on the market for over 3 years. What do you mean? Barbara asked in confusion. In other words, inheriting this house means taking on the obligation to pay $35,000 monthly, Robert explained matter-of-factly. This constitutes legal debt inheritance. Debt inheritance? Jessica repeated in a trembling voice. It's clearly stated in the contract, Robert pointed to the thick documents. The details are listed in Article 15. However, Barbara waved her hand without even looking at the documents. Never mind the details. We're not legal experts. We can't understand such complicated matters. But, Mom, Emily said with concern, you should carefully check the contents. Emily, you be quiet. Jessica interrupted. I don't want to waste this generous offer. Robert showed a confused expression. However, this is a very important legal document. Signing without understanding the contents is. It's a waste of time. Barbara stood up. Emily said she'd give us the house, so that's enough, isn't it? That's right, Jessica agreed. We're family, so we trust her. Where should we sign? Robert exchanged glances with Emily. Emily quietly nodded. It was unfolding exactly as Michael had predicted. They had no intention of trying to understand the contract details and were only thinking about getting the mansion for free. Very well, Robert sighed. Please sign here. Barbara signed the indicated pages without even glancing at the stack of contracts. Jessica did the same, signing page after page without reading the contents. Even on the particularly important debt inheritance clause page, they asked no questions. Are you absolutely certain? Robert confirmed one last time. Once signed, the contract has legal binding power. Of course. Barbara answered brightly. We're family. We trust Emily. When the contract was completed, Jessica excitedly looked around the house. I can't believe it. This mansion is really ours now. Let's throw a celebration party in the party room, Barbara suggested. We'll invite all our friends. We can have barbecues by the pool too, Jessica clapped her hands. What a wonderful life is beginning. Emily quietly put away the documents and said, well then, Lily and I will move out by the end of next month. Where are you going? Barbara asked. I found a small house near the ocean, Emily smiled. It's big enough for Lily and me. What a shame, Jessica said sympathetically. But a new life won't be bad either. That evening, after the two had left, Emily was looking at photos of the new house with Lily. It was a 2-bedroom house, a 5-minute walk from the beach, boasting a large yard and ocean view. Mommy, the new house has an ocean view, Lily pointed to the photo. That's right. We'll be able to wake up to the sound of the ocean every morning, Emily stroked her daughter's hair. Will Daddy be happy? Lily asked with a serious expression. I'm sure he'll be happy, Emily answered gently. Daddy said that if we're happy, that's what matters most. On moving day, Barbara and Jessica, as the new residents of the mansion, were already planning a celebration party with their friends. For them, Emily and Lily's move was merely a passing event. Thank you, Emily, Barbara said formally. I won't forget your kindness. You take care in your new life too, sis, Jessica added. Emily looked at the two of them while loading luggage into the car. They still knew nothing. They had no understanding whatsoever of the reality that would begin next month. Lily, let's go, Emily called to her daughter. Looking at the mansion reflected in the car's rearview mirror, Emily smiled quietly. The time had finally come for Michael's final gift to show its true worth. When the truth would be fully revealed in 3 months, what kind of reaction would they show? Mommy, are Grandma and them going to have a hard time now? Lily asked from the back seat. It's the path they chose, Emily answered gently. Everyone must take responsibility for their own choices. Driving on the road toward the coast, Emily harbored hope for her new life. Perhaps someday they too would understand what true family bonds were. But that wasn't her responsibility. 3 months later, on a sunny Tuesday morning, a thick envelope arrived for Barbara. The sender was First National Bank. She opened it casually, but the moment she saw the contents, the blood drained from her face. Mortgage balance, $4,500,000. This month's payment, $35,000. Due date, end of this month. Barbara read the document with trembling hands. There were warnings about payment delays and late fee notations. She frantically called Jessica. Jessica. This is terrible. A bill came from the bank. They want $35,000 by the end of this month. What's that? Jessica's scream echoed through the phone. It's fraud. Emily deceived us. The two immediately rushed to a law office. However, the lawyer's answer after seeing the contract was merciless. The contract is completely legal. You both signed the debt inheritance clause. This mortgage is now your legal responsibility. But we weren't given an explanation of the contents. Barbara protested. There's a record here that the real estate agent tried to explain. The lawyer pointed to the documents. It states that you said, never mind the details, and refused the explanation. If we sell the house, that should solve it, right? Jessica asked hopefully. The lawyer shook his head. The current market value is about $5 million, but the mortgage balance is $4.5 million. After subtracting selling costs and taxes, almost nothing would remain. The bigger problem is that there are no buyers. Reality mercilessly struck the two. The mansion's maintenance costs, utilities, and the enormous monthly mortgage payments. It was an amount their combined income could never cover. They were even struggling to pay for the celebration party they had thrown for their friends on their credit cards. Meanwhile, in their new house near the coast, Emily and Lily were living peaceful days. They woke to the sound of the ocean in the morning. Lily played with neighborhood children on the beach, and Emily had started working at a small local interior design company. The insurance money was carefully invested, and their future was financially stable. "Mommy, how are Grandma and them doing?" Lily asked during dinner one evening. "They're walking the path they chose," Emily answered gently. That night, Lily spoke to her father's photograph in a small voice. "Daddy, thank you for protecting Mommy. It turned out just like you said. Greedy people trip themselves up." Emily looked at her daughter in surprise. "Lily, did Daddy say that?" "Yes," Lily turned around. "Daddy said it at the hospital at the end. If Mommy's family is mean to her, the house will protect her, so don't worry." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. Michael had been thinking of his family until the very end. From deep in the study, Michael's final letter was found. The envelope addressed to Emily contained these words in her husband's careful handwriting. "To my beloved Emily. If you're reading this letter, I'm no longer by your side. If your family tries to use you, please use this house. I deliberately left the mortgage to protect you and our daughter. True family is connected by love, not money. May your new life be filled with happiness." 6 months later, Barbara and Jessica had to give up the mansion. However, it wasn't enough to pay off the mortgage balance, and the two had to move to separate apartments. The beauty salon and boutique both closed, and their financial hardship was severe. On Christmas morning, Lily's laughter echoed through Emily's new house. Under the small Christmas tree were modest but heartfelt presents. "Mommy, we're happy, aren't we?" Lily hugged Emily. "Yes, we really are," Emily held her daughter close. "Daddy is happy for us too." Outside the window, ocean waves quietly washed the shore, and a new day was about to begin. For the two who had learned what true family meant, the life ahead was filled with hope. The sadness of losing a loved one would never heal, but the love that person had left behind would dwell in their hearts forever.